Yo, what is up? It is YB.
Looking to stop. My God sent the angels, I'm good when I move like I move with the mob. Tears in the valley, this life is a jungle, I pray to the top. Life is a marathon, I'm running to him, I'm shaking off weights and I'm done with the fear, cause I'm running with God.
So, grew up, single parent home, 7 siblings. So, breakfast, you had to scramble, no dragging your feet. But not having that father figure in the home. My older brothers, they all were like superheroes. Don't tell my other brothers this, but I had one favorite brother who every morning during my middle school years, he was in the mirror rehearsing lyrics. And of course, I'm looking at this like, man, like this is so cool. And it wasn't long before I was in the mirror rehearsing Eminem, "You better lose yourself in the mute." I'm going, just honing in. And because that broken home relationship, music became that escape for me. And of course, it just fueled the passion year on year on year. I sold chips and candy during my middle school years. So I had a 2-mile walk from my house to Family Dollar. And on that 2-mile walk, that's where I began to freestyle just to myself. And it wasn't long where cars were stopping, like asked me like, "Hey, are you okay?" But they didn't even know I was sharpening the skills of, what people experience today. But it started from freestyling, and I never forget being afraid to actually write my first song, because with freestyling, you can go all over the place. There's no rules, there's no box. But when you write, you got to focus in on the subject, and it all has to make sense. But it spurred from there. And I was always weary of God. Like, I knew he was real, but I never wanted to make that true commitment because I knew it came at a cost. So I rode the fence all the way through middle school, all the way through high school. But right before I graduated high school, this is when like God was like, "Hey, I'm done playing. Like, I'm done with the double life." And going into college, every person around me was a sold out Christian. And it wasn't a Christian school, but my circle was just this like tug. And of course, when you're around real Christians, the lifestyle is appetizing. And they invited me to church, and from church, being loved on, being poured into, and seeing this community, it didn't take long. January 1st, 2013, I said, "Yes, Jesus, I'm yours. I'll stop doing all of this. I'll stop telling my mom I'm cleaning the room, and I'm literally pushing everything in the closet. Like, I'm following you now." And I'll never forget, I made it from the Passion Conference. I make it to my dorm. I delete all of my music. And this was my first day to write a song about a God I barely knew. And we just never stopped. That day to now, we never looked back. We just kept going and going and going. Yeah, so during that time, man, I'm coming up in the era where artists that's young, you're seeing artists blow up overnight. And of course, if you're a rapper, nobody's ever trying to do this like, "Man, I can't wait to come in third." Like, nobody ever says that. So of course I'm like, well, man, I can't wait till I put out a good song, somebody call me, and then I just start touring the country. Well, that never happened. But again, just having that drive from 7 siblings, and I said, I'm gonna figure it out. And during my college years, I'm driving around, and I heard God whisper, "Believe our Lord delivers." Bold, BOLD. And that birthed Bold Records. And then my girlfriend at the time, now wife, the real MVP, she teamed up and she said, "Let's make it a thing." And we packed up the little Toyota Camry, and anybody that said we can come to their church or come to their youth group or come to their New Year's Eve event, we was there. Didn't care about pay, didn't care about how many kids. All we needed was a yes. We gassed up the Toyota and we hit the road. And that slowly began to morph Bold Records. But now we actually have a second label, Next Move Recordings, and we have 3 artists on that label who are, man, they're killing it. Henrik, Coop, and Christopher Sincere. They're all in their lane, and it's about just helping serve their vision. They're doing their thing, and I'm just honored to serve what they're doing. So, yep, Bold Records and Next Move Recordings. Man, so we had all of our releases in 2020 slayed in 2019. So it wasn't just because we were bored and COVID hit. We was like, "Yo, let's just sit in the studio and just release." This was already kind of coming out. But when we got to Provision, it was, I think I needed maybe 1 or 2 more records. And the one or two was The Provision, the title track, and The Greatest. And The Greatest kind of came right after George Floyd. I went silent on social media. I just didn't have words. People, you know, when you come up with a platform, God give you that platform, people, well, YB, what's your take on it? I'm not just gonna blindly say anything. You ask my wife, I went silent for a week and a half. And when God gave me the words to speak, it was The Greatest. Like when I spoke on that, we recorded that song. So The Greatest happened, and then Provision happened. And then we just wanted that to serve as a time for people to just put one foot in front of the other. That was a time in 2020 where everybody was human. Nobody was a superstar. Nobody was out of reach. Everybody experienced COVID. So we wanted that process to, hey, don't stop. I know it's hard for everybody. I pray that you just put one foot in front of the other. So that was Provision. Provision 2 details that journey of, hey, I didn't quit. I didn't give up. Here's actually what happened as I progressed. I lost some friends. I got hurt. Some things fell through the roof. Some things really went sour. Some things blossomed. And we're telling that story on Provision 2. So a lot of substance. I'm just excited about 2021. My team is always working. After Provision, after Provision, we took 7 months off just to breathe, to live, to enjoy my daughters and my family, to taste a lot of coffee in the city. And now we're back, boots on the ground, and we're getting after it. And we got a lot coming, and I'm just excited to be back serving. So, yeah. Yeah, so I partner with a few organizations that run like summer-wide tours. So they may have 60 dates, and then I might have 8 of those 60s. So I partner with Christ in Youth. That's the big one. But just a lot of my relationships. I used to be a student pastor in 2015. So coming out of that, a lot of people still know me in that circle. In a lot of circles, I'm known as like Mr. Fire Emoji. They don't even know YB, they just know Mr. Fire Emoji. So a lot of my circuit is hitting summer camps, D-Nows, but my team, we're already on the blackboard of figuring out how can we start hosting and curating our own experiences. So if you want to see YB live and a curated experience, stay tuned. For support, hit me up at yb.official on Instagram. Unfortunately, TikTok, that's a thing now. And you can find all info and all details needed. www.ybofficial.com.
2013, since I left passion, it's been a light switch. More like a life switch. The journey of battle, this moment of clarity, grace and his love. I'm dying a soldier, the armor of God are the tools that I fight.